Hello, Laura. Can you hear me, Laura? Let's see now. There.
Yes, I can hear you. Sorry, I was looking for my math. So thank you. Sorry about that.
Yeah, welcome.
And I'm also trying to eat my dinner.
Okay,
so
that's
it's a bit like I have
where are you calling in
4
from?
hours of meetings back to back.
Sorry? Oh yeah, where are you calling from?
From Israel, Tel Aviv.
Israel. Ah, interesting, nice.
Where are you from?
I'm from Sweden.
That's nice. So we have like a difference of 1 hour, if I'm not mistaken. It's early.
Maybe we have. It's 5 o'clock here now. Is it 6
Yes,
o'clock your time?
Yes,
Yeah.
6 p.m. my time.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I would mute myself just to continue eating, if that's okay with you.
That's perfectly fine. We'll see if anyone else joins. I hope so, but otherwise we'll continue chit-chatting, but we'll see.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Fine. Let's reach out on Slack and see if someone else joins. Just for information, Laura. We'll prepare the agenda as well. Yeah. Let's see. I hope that Mauricio should join at least. Let's see. There was a GitHub issue. This one. If Mauricio joins, I would like to discuss this one a bit. I'm not sure he does. So.
So it's only 2 of us?
Yeah, it's only 2 of us, and I was hoping Mauricio should join because we had some discussion on the GitHub request earlier today on an issue. So I'm not sure. I mean, unless anyone else joins, we might call the meeting off. But however, we can just chit chat a bit. Have you been on any of these meetings before, by the way?
No, never.
No?
Not that I recall, but right now I'm co-chairing with Fatih the software security supply chain. No,
Yeah,
not the software supply chain.
of the supply
SIG.
chain. Yeah.
So
SIG,
I'm one of the co-chairs, but Fatih
that's
is the king
he's
of
the
the
inventor
castle.
of the SIG, isn't it?
Yes,
Yeah.
he's everything, and
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
just, you know,
So
I'm the small figure at the behind him.
Yeah. So I met Fatih a couple of times, and I know him quite well. That's good. And I started out in the CD Foundation in his first SIG, in the SIG interoperability.
Yes, he told me that he was
event
one of
work
the
group
chairs.
was created. So when did you join CD Foundation? Was it with the SIG or?
I think yes, maybe. You know, like maybe I was here and there joining some meetings, but not something. I wasn't doing anything actively. Not that I'm right now, you know, like a big active, but I will try.
Yeah, that sounds good.
I'll do my best.
So what is your background? Which company are you from?
I'm a Reddit.
Yeah.
My background is I'm a DevOps expert, but right now I am in the role of being a product manager for the supply chain for one of our products.
Right.
So I think that my DevOps background helps me architecturing, you know, the best supply chain. Well, I don't know if it's the best, but I'm trying to provide the best.
I guess it fits just fine.
And what's your background?
I've been working with tools since I was small, more or less. No, but I've been with Ericsson for many years, over 20 years now. And I've been working with tools more than half of that time. And the last, like, I don't know, 8-9 years since CI was invented, more or less, I've been working with continuous integration at Ericsson and the tooling perspective of it mostly. I also been highly involved in the Eiffel protocol, the event protocol that is called Eiffel. I guess you've heard of it. No.
Nope.
Okay, so it's a protocol that is quite similar to what we are inventing here, or just, structuring here in this SIG. It's also about events in a CI/CD system or a delivery chain or supply chain or whatever you want to call it. So it's something that we've been using internally in Ericsson for a long time, but also published open source a few years back. So we are a group of people and companies evolving that existing protocol, which is actually in use, in production use. But this is this CDEvents thing is a new initiative to broaden the scope a bit and to get more people involved and more tools providers involved and so on. So because we see a very big benefit of having more providers on board on the same idea and implementing support natively for an event protocol. And that's why we think this is a good thing to start more or less from scratch here in this group and creating a good event protocol together with all the tools providers that are interested to of course to support this. So that's the idea there. But I guess you have some interest in event at least then, I guess, in the supply chain. You have an interest in event, right?
I'm keep talking. No. I'm really sorry about that. So could I ask you some questions just out of curiosity?
Go ahead.
Do you work with Tekton in Ericsson?
I don't myself. I think Tekton is deployed in some places in Ericsson and in use, but I'm not really sure. In the neighborhood where I normally spend my days, I haven't seen anyone using Tekton actually. So we are currently using Argo workflows as pipeline engine in our Kubernetes clusters. And the main reason there was that, I mean, when we decided on Argo, Tekton wasn't really around. I think it was some very pre-release existing maybe of Tekton, and it sounded maybe something that could come, but Argo was already there, and we chose Argo. And so since then we have sticking around with Argo, but we still have Tekton in the back of our minds, and we would like to evaluate it as well and compare it and maybe provide it internally as an additional workflow engine or pipeline engine.
And which Git forge are you using?
You mean as Git repository manager, or?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're using Gerrit.
Wow.
Only.
This is history, ancient tool.
No, the ancient tool is ClearCase.
ClearCase is.
Yeah.
By the way, I was an expert in ClearCase.
I was
back
as well.
in the days, and you know, I used to be how do you say, business owner,
Mm-hmm.
and I built my business on ClearCase expertise. So I cannot blame ClearCase, but because it was a complex tool and expertise was required. But nowadays, when I look back to ClearCase, so, wow, who is going to take ClearCase and why? Why? Right?
Yeah. Now everyone is on Git now. But we, for some reason, chose Gerrit in Ericsson. GitLab is in some parts of Ericsson also used, but still Gerrit is the mostly used internal source code manager, at least. Then, of course, I use GitHub a lot for external work and work in this group and in CD Foundation at large and so on.
Of course. And if you consider, or are you aware of Gitlab CI?
Yeah.
Have you heard of that?
Oh, yeah.
Do you have any thoughts on that as VS Tekton?
Oh, I couldn't compare it myself. I haven't really used any of them. From what I could guess is, I mean, GitLab CI is probably the tool you should use if you are only in GitLab and you are always working in GitLab. Then I don't see why you should not use GitLab CI. I mean, that you will get a lot of things for free there, an integration with your SCM repositories and everything. But if you are, as we are in Ericsson, using, I mean, we're using Gerrit mostly, and we are trying to also introduce GitLab to some extent, and maybe others. We would like to see some CI engine which is not really bound to a specific source code manager. So that's why we're interested more in cloud native workflow managers like Argo or Tekton. But we, of course, would like to integrate this event protocol that we are inventing here with GitLab as well, so that we can have interaction and integration, interoperability with the with GitLab CI workflow, so to say, as well.
Interesting.
But you're using GitLab mostly, or are you using only GitLab? Are you always using GitLab?
GitLab? Sorry, was it a question or
yeah,
a statement?
are you using
Okay.
GitLab?
Yes, we are using GitLab for both our open source projects and our downstream, you know, like internal projects as well. GitLab is because GitLab is eventually it's an open source tool, but we are using gitlab.com, which is a hosted version of GitLab. And and internally we have few instances of GitLab, both community versions and also enterprise versions as well. And because we are working, like I'm a product owner, like the product that I am working on its a supply chain is an operating system.
Yeah.
It means that the code base is spun on multiple repos, Git repos that are hosted in GitLab. So, and that's, you know, my concern is how do I manage GitLab CI when you want to orchestrate, you know, like pulling sources from 400 Git repos, not one. Usually GitLab CI is, you know, it's tied into one Git repo. If something happens in that repo, then, well, you can manage it. I'm not saying that it's not manageable, it's not doable to integrate that, but it's not out of the box.
So if you have multiple repositories in the same GitLab host, you cannot really integrate those and then have joint integration activities around those, or?
Well, I actually don't know. I know that the team is right now, they're fed up with Decton. They said that it's not mature enough. There are a lot of frictions for them, and they want to switch back to GitLab CI because it's more integrated into GitLab, you know, the user interface, the triggering, the notification that comes out after the pipeline runs. It's seamless, right? You don't need to invent anything. You don't need to, you know, use APIs and stuff like that in order to talk with GitLab, because GitLab provides that with no additional effort.
So where do your GitLab CI pipelines end then? Does it end with creating or publishing an artifact, or by deploying a service into production, or how far do you go with your GitLab CI flows?
Okay, so we, as I said, we are generating, I don't know, Yum repo. Is that something that you're aware of? Yum repo is like it's like a repository of RPMs.
Yeah.
So this is our product, because eventually a customer will take this repo and will generate an image out of the packages that are in this Yum repo. Okay. So we are planning to eventually to push this, you know, we generate this Yum repo and push it into an artifact store. There is no, you know, deployment, because our production environment is just putting it out there so that customers can pull the Yum repo and use that. This is
right. So one use case with these events that we are inventing here, then, or that we are trying to create a specification for, is to be able to connect also downstream integrators of your product to your pipelines yourselves, your own pipelines, to bridge the gap between your deliveries to artifact repository manager then, or a Yum repo manager, to the ones who actually then download those and start using those and integrate those in their applications and eventually deploy their applications. So you could see how much is this library used, and is it tested on such and such environment, and those kinds of things. Those are use cases that we see could be managed by these events that we define here. So we can bridge the gap between different platforms. And of course, those integrators there might not use GitLab, for example, when they integrate your libraries and download it from the Yum repository. They might use some other SCM tool to handle that stuff, and they might use Tecton then to run their integration pipelines. And then if we would have such a common event protocol, that would mean that we could follow a delivery from your organization into some other organization that downloads it and so on and uses it in the production there.
That's interesting. It does, but I'm not sure that it will be appropriate in my case. It's not my personal case, right? It's in the program that I'm part of, because the operating system that we are currently working on is for the automotive industry, and I think that car manufacturers are not that, they're reluctant to share what's happening in their environment with the outer world. This is the current situation.
Interesting. I wouldn't say that they are. I mean, of course, they would not want to reveal any secrets and say, we are now developing this car model or whatever, of course. But they might be willing to, I mean, because they would themselves be helped by publishing that now we are using this repository. So please provide me quick feedback if you find anything that we would need to know about or something like that. So it could be so that they could be interested to push that information back to you and feedback their test results or whatever when they integrate your products into their.
Well,
eventually.
It's interesting. It's interesting. I don't know. I can push back a little bit more if you want to. Tell you some more information. No, it's not me pushing back. It's just, representing what I think that is the current situation. Okay, I'm sure that the automotive industry is there is a lot of disruption in the latest years. Telsa came on board, and there is all those discussions and work that's been done with the automotive cars and stuff like that. So there is a revolution in the automotive car industry right now, and it's going to evolve even more. So maybe those changes and your thoughts that you're currently sharing will be applied, but for now, it's not the case.
Yeah, of course, that's quite far ahead in the future, I would guess as well. I think you would be interested to discuss these matters a bit with Erik, who is also one of the people in this SIG normally, and in this project normally, Erik Sternerson, because he is also working as a consultant towards Volvo cars.
Interesting.
With actually, and he has his own ideas, I guess, on where the this event protocol that we're developing is suitable to use there. If he sees a need for connecting the pipelines that he is working on within Volvo cars with the providers of the libraries that he uses, I don't really know, but it could be an interesting discussion to have with Erik, I think.
For sure, because he's like a potential customer, he can provide his feedback on whether if he's as a customer of our product or for our operating system, whether he would like to share the information with us or not. Okay, because right now, as far as I am aware of, again, I don't have this immediate contact with the customers right now because I'm the product owner of the supply chain, right? So it's a backend service that is building the product. So, but from my, from the talks in the program, is that the customers are reluctant to share a lot of information outside their environment. And information is infrastructure, source code, tooling, pipelines, progress, all kinds of information that right now it's not in the scope. And by the way, because I don't know if you're aware of how Red Hat is working. So Red Hat is we are working in an open source development practice. It means that our operating system is actually like hundreds, if not thousands, of open source projects that are not stable, right? Each project has its own release cycle, and in development and stuff like that. And we tend to take snapshots to test them, to repackage them, and to provide to our customers stable versions of those packages as a product. So therefore, this continuous update is not something that we probably want to share. And in the automotive industry, by the way, each update needs to be certified, functional safety certification. And this is a very long process, months of work. So every change requires a certification. So as I see, I have plenty of pushbacks in my bag, but it's not personal. Okay, if I worked in a different project, I would love to to apply such a product or a protocol in our environment.
Yeah, sounds good. No, but but we don't need to dig deeper into that now, of course, either.
Of course.
But it would be interesting to have a chat about it maybe when we meet sometime.
Sure, with pleasure.
So I think that Erik is planning to go to the CDEvents Con in Valencia, actually. Are you going there, or?
Not that I plan to. When is it?
It's in mid-May. Is it 16th through 20th of May, I believe, in Spain, in Valencia?
Yes, I actually, I think that Fatih shared with me the information, but I was not, I don't know, I would need to I didn't travel since COVID.
Yeah, me neither.
And so it's not that I'm, I don't want to travel, but I think that it's also there's all kinds of restrictions and stuff like that. And I don't have the, the tolerance, for all kinds of checkups and to go with this mask all the time and stuff like that. So I don't know if it's worth it.
I'm not sure how it works there in the conference, if you're requested to wear a mask and if there is a lot of checkups. I don't know. Maybe there are. I haven't yet planned to go there either. I have a request towards my manager to ask if she's willing to let me go.
Oh, you know what? I will ask my manager.
We have travel restrictions still. We still have travel restrictions in Ericsson. So, or I mean, there is a decision to decrease the amount of traveling for us since before COVID.
Same here.
Yeah, so with like 50%, and not because of COVID mainly, but because of the carbon dioxide emissions. To be more environmental friendly. And since the industry has moved, I mean, the kind of meeting that we have now is what wasn't really possible some years back, but now it is. And it is possible to have virtual conferences. So why shouldn't we have virtual conferences and such discussions? So I'm not too optimistic that I will be allowed to travel, but if I will go to Valencia and we might meet there. And I would say that I know that Erik is planning to go there. So if you would go, you could meet with him there then. Anyway,
I will. Do you have like the link handy so I can share it with
the conference?
manager?
Sure.
Yes.
Sure, I can share it. CDEvents.com. Let's see. I'll paste it in the chat here. This is the registration for the CDEvents.com. And from there you can find the information. It is the same week as KubeCon, the Kubernetes conference, which is the whole week. The CDEvents.con is just 2 days.
It's in the same place?
Sorry, it's maybe one day even. Yeah. It's only 1 day, I think. But the KubeCon is, of course, a full week. And you're required to have a KubeCon registration to be able to go there to the CDEvents.con as well.
KubeCon.
It's focusing on Kubernetes, cloud native tooling in an area.
I don't think that the link that I found for KubeCon is relevant. Let me try to.
Okay, I have the KubeCon as well, if you like.
There is, here it is.
KubeCon Europe.
Yes, I can see that.
You see a KubeCon Europe link, yeah.
By the way, it's written here that there is a virtual option.
Yeah, it is for sure. Also for the CDEvents.con, it's a virtual option, yeah. And I will go. I will be there virtually if I can't come in person. For sure. I just thought it was easier to chit chat in between presentations and such if we meet at the conference. But anyway, let's see. I just wanted to share also the link to the. We will have a meetup in the CDEvents group next Wednesday. Did you get an invite to that?
Where do I see the invite? Is it the CDF calendar? So I'm looking at the calendar.
It's in the CDF calendar as well, yes.
But is there like a specific invite? Do you want to share the link?
Yeah, I can try to find it. Let's see if I find it now. Where is that then? Oh, why can't I find it? Community, this way it is. This one. So next Wednesday at the same time slot as we're meeting today, there will be a webinar / meetup for an hour. where actually Erik and Andrea Frittoli will more or less revisit the presentation they had earlier this year on the FOSDEM conference for like 20 minutes. And after that, it will be an open discussion with everyone that joins the meetup on the various use cases that people in the meeting see for events. So there could be one place also to discuss what would we use events for. So for example, would we use it to integrate an upstream and downstream flow in the way we discussed before? Do we see that as a valuable use case or not? Such things can be discussed there. So if you're able to, please join that meetup as well.
Yes, so I need to create a password, right?
Yeah, you need to log in there, I guess.
I need to log in.
To register, yeah.
Yeah, already registered, if I'm not mistaken.
Good.
I will use my Google. Okay, so here's my Rsvp, and add me to the local chapter for future event updates. Okay. Do I get like a calendar invite somewhere?
I think you get a mail at least. You might be able to create the calendar invite by yourself from the mail somehow, or from this webpage maybe. I don't really remember now. I created the meeting, so I can't really say. I maybe don't see the same things as you do.
What is the target of the meeting? Here it is. Add to the calendar. Go. Good. Found it.
Okay. Yeah.
The purpose is to get more, like users.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's to reach out to a broader group of people who might be interested in events, and to make sure that we consider any use case that is relevant for the users that are interested in events, so that we don't spend a lot of time inventing events for things that no one is interested in, more or less. So we focus on the right thing, the right things, of course. And that I mean, since now we will also set the vocabulary on the events. I mean, the events is, a lot of it is about setting a specific structure for how you should announce something that has happened in your pipeline. So it's a lot about naming, and also how you can combine or link or reference different events together and so on. So it's like the groundwork we are doing right now for that.
Would you like to share the architecture of the solution? Like, do you have like a tech stack already set up of how you're going to implement that, or it's only a protocol and it will be implemented with, differently by tools owners and stuff like that?
Yeah, the main thing is a protocol specification. I mean, that's the main common part. So the project aims to provide a protocol specification, and then of course we will, together with that specification, we are also developing SDKs to make it easier to use the protocol, and also developing POCs to see that what the protocol specifies is possible to use in reality. So there is a POC from last autumn sometime, or maybe even last summer, where the Captain tool and Tecton was integrated through these kinds of events. Not the latest version of the spec that we have, but an earlier version of it. So we at least could make a proof of concept that it actually worked to integrate those two completely different systems with each other using these kinds of events. And we look forward to having more such POCs. And we might have event producers and event consumers examples, or maybe even finished implementations in this GitHub organization that we call CDEvents now. What you see there as well. But the main repository is the specification itself. And when it comes to architecture, yeah, go on.
No, I said interesting. Thank you for sharing that. But yes, please go on.
No, so when it comes to the architecture, well, CDEvents is currently based on the cloud event specification. So cloud events is a kind of generic event specification for transporting information from a producer to a consumer, regardless of what messaging transport system you would use underneath. It could use Kafka, RabbitMQ, or whatever, more or less. And cloud events is the layer where all those things come together, and you can connect your RabbitMQ bus to someone that sends things using Kafka. As soon as you have the cloud events layer in your system, you could understand each other. And then we provide this specification on top of cloud events, where we define the language for the CI/CD specific events that we intend to show here, and to specify, to enable interoperability then, of course, between the different CI/CD tools. So it doesn't make too much sense using these events if you only use one tool. Then you can, of course, use any visualization that is part of that tool, or you can use metrics collectors, or you can use KPI measurements, or whatever you would like in that tool. You might have, I mean, in GitLab, you get a lot for free. You get visualizations of your pipelines and everything. But if you would imagine a system where you had 10 different providers included, like 2 or 3 different workflow engines, and you have some 2 or 3 different visualization tools, and you have a lot of different tools in your complete production system internally, and you would like all those to understand each other and have a common language, then this protocol could help you as well. If all those tools then could communicate using the same language.
But
so that's more or less the idea.
Yeah, sorry.
No,
so
go ahead.
But in any case, you need like a hub that knows how to get those messages in order to process them. So you need like a messaging queue, or to receive those. And the other tools, the events, let's say the events provider needs to publish the events, so that somebody else consumes those events and process them, right? So the consumer should be unified, if I'm not mistaken.
I mean, if as long as the producer fulfills the cloud events infrastructure spec, so to say, and sends these events, have the tech stack needed to send proper cloud events, and this CDEvents on top of it, then any consumer that also can is compatible with cloud events, regarding of what tech stack it uses underneath, should be able to read the information and get the information, subscribe to it, coming from another producer. And that's the intention with cloud events, as I see it, to be able to bridge the different architectures that might exist, or different tech stacks that might exist.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. It makes sense to me, totally. But it would be interesting to see it in action, to see somebody that is actually using that, and like somebody is early adopter of the project, so he can show some feedback.
Someone needs to go first.
On the value.
Someone needs to go first.
Somebody needs to be the first one.
Yeah. I don't really remember now if Eric and Andrea has some live demo. I think they might have. That will also be shown then next week on Wednesday, together with their presentation. It might be so. Otherwise, there is still the POC from last autumn that could be revisited. I think there are recordings of it as well, which you can see on YouTube somewhere. I don't have the links now, but that's possible to find out. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Interesting to see, and I will look into it. I am looking into something else right now that I was introduced to in our SIG meetings, something that Fatih set up, which is SSF.
Yeah.
Which is the Secure Software Factory project,
right.
which looks very interesting right now, at least for me. The problem is it's tied to Tekton. So if my team is moving to something else, it would be a little bit difficult, to utilize, but we'll see about that. Maybe we can do some migration to GitLab to GitLab.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know if you know, but my co-chair in this SIG, I mean, I'm one of the chairs in the SIG events, and my co-chair is Andrea Frittoli, and he is one of the main maintainers of the Tekton project as well.
Interesting. So I would like to share some feedback to him.
Yeah, he might be able to answer any of your questions, I guess, on Tekton, and also take home the feedback you might have to him.
So he's not coming from Google, right?
No, he's from IBM.
Oh, really?
Yeah, IBM.
IBM is the mothership,
For Tekton.
No,
or you mean,
for Reddit.
You mean the mothership of everything?
for Reddit. The owners of Reddit.
And also for ClearCase, right?
Yes, but ClearCase wasn't originally, IBM product.
Maybe it wasn't, but it was in IBM Rational, right? In the Rational
it came Rational, and before Rational, it was something else, by the way. It was like several acquisitions. Okay. IBM was the last one. Time. And then IBM killed it.
Yeah. When I started to learn ClearCase, it was already in Rational. Back in the 90s, 98, I believe.
So I think that I've started a little bit earlier than you. I'm very old. I don't recall, but I'm like 30 years in the industry, a little bit more than 30 years. So
I only have 24, so.
So I'm a little bit older.
Yeah.
Not that we are competing, right?
Slightly, yeah. No.
But ClearCase was, back in the days before Git, it was, most of the organizations used the ClearCase. There wasn't any, it was a complex tool, but there wasn't any other tool that was good as ClearCase. ClearCase provided a lot of functionality that is, I don't think that it's even exists today, but it was a very complex tool, and it's still complex tool.
And completely different to anything Git. I mean, it's a steep learning curve when you are used to ClearCase and try to learn Git. It's a completely different way of thinking about changes.
Exactly, and it took me quite a while to get used to Git. By the way, it was a challenge, but eventually you learn.
Yeah, for sure. I don't really miss this dynamic and static views that much anymore that I did in the beginning.
Static views, wow, I didn't hear this term for years.
Yeah.
It's so old, but
and the Bobs, whatever.
Yeah.
It was nice chatting with you. It seems no one else is joining, so I guess we don't need to spend all time here. I should actually go and get something to eat now as well.
So bon appetit, and thank you for the discussion. It was lovely. I think that it only two of us, then it was very, like we can get to know each other and more open. But when there is a broader audience, I'm waiting for everybody to talk. So it was a good discussion. So thank you.
Thank you as well. And we'll keep in touch and see each other in some other meetings.
Of course.
Talk to you.
Bye, Emil. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.